Okay, they got Donald Trump coming out to some groovy music. What's good, Trump? Come on, Trump.
Hi, Mr. Trump. Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you. How are you? Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country. Including employment, including opportunity zones.
Okay, hold on, guys. Let's talk about this for a second. What do you think about the opening question that was posed by her name? I got her name down here somewhere. I had her name. Rachel Scott, that's it. Rachel Scott is the moderator. Okay, so Rachel Scott, she's the senior congressional correspondent for ABC. So maybe they got a pass. Maybe he recognized her. Senior congressional correspondent. They've had, I don't know. What you think? Maybe so. But putting that aside, what do you think about that first question? It was quite a wind-up. It didn't, she didn't just ask, hey, why should black people want you to come here, whatever. She went through this whole thing, a litany of like little shots at him. I counted like 4 shots. Do you think it was, I don't know. Do you think that was cordial to start it off that way? I'd also like to point out, they've also had Bush, Clinton, and Obama do the same thing Trump's doing here. Trump being here is not some special thing. Other presidents have been here. Bush, who took us to an illegal war and killed 500,000 Iraqis. Not a problem for him to sit down. But Trump said mean things to some black people. So, of course, we got to have a controversy if he sits there. But we'll let Bush take us to war and get not to mention a bunch of Americans killed in the process. But no one would have a problem with that. You understand what I'm saying? This is the type of hypocrisy that I get sick of. They had Clinton. The old, we know what happened with him with the impeachment thing. With the affair at the White House. No problem having him there, because why? He's the guy that played the sax. The NAFTA jobs, a lot of other stuff that Clinton did that didn't end up so great. He the one who actually signed those crime bills. But no problem there. Come on in, Bill. We love you, Bill. This is the type of thing I'm talking about. This is just hypocrisy. All you got on Trump is words, man. He said this thing you didn't like. He said that thing you didn't like. Now, the dinner with the Nazi, I got to check that out. What Nazi did he have dinner with? I didn't know about that one. So my thing, I'm just saying, like, it's like using blackness as a cheat code to throw something on a guy when you got nothing else. It's like, damn it, man, we got to do better. Like, if you'd have said, hey, you didn't do shit for our small businesses. You didn't help you didn't help the corner stores. You didn't help our barbers get degrees. I don't know anything that's tied to money, that's tied to her actual living situation, man. She had her fucking feelings. Feelings. And she only did it because if she didn't do it, She'd catch hell from a bunch of other black folks who would be in their feelings. But nothing she's talking about has anything to do with us getting our money right, has anything to do with us actually succeeding. If Trump's nice to you, if he's nice to whoever, whatever reporter, that doesn't mean we get anything out of it. This is not a session of the dozens where we sit and complain about name calling. We're supposed to try to get him to use his power, if he has any, to help our communities, not just say nice shit. Is anybody else understanding what I'm saying? Why aren't you talking about daycare, paid leave, health care, jobs, trade? Why don't you talk about the things that matter to us? Not your feelings. Not that time you told this person to go jump off a cliff. Not that time you insulted this person. And by the way, I'm going to show it later. Donald Trump says a lot of shit to white people too. You just don't care about white people. And you think when he talks to black people, you can talk any old way you want to talk and he won't say shit, like he's going to be different. He crucified white reporters. He dogged out white men and white women. Yes, but you didn't say anything because it wasn't you. He's rude. He's abrasive. He don't like people talking shit. He's gonna talk back. He's not gonna do the shit we're used to people doing in corporate America, which is, oh, okay, fine, okay, sure, say whatever you want. You're the customer, sure, whatever. Don't call management. Nah, man, he's a rich bastard who's been privileged his whole life. He don't operate like that. You know what? Here we go, guys. Here we go. Treat Donald Trump like you treat rappers. Treat rappers. You know how you treat rappers? Like Cameron when he went on CNN? Remember Cameron went on CNN with Abby Phillip, and Abby Phillip asked him a question. What did Cameron do? Acted like a straight up thug. He didn't give a damn. He up there promoting his pink juice. Gas power. What, huh? What, you want to ask questions? Man, ask him about that. I don't know nothing about that. You know, what the? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, I was over here getting my guzzle on. I got to stop off and get some cheeks. Yeah, because it's not a part of corporate America. Cameron is not a part of corporate America. He don't operate that way. And most of the people in America do not operate like corporate America at the counter. This is not a retail environment. This is straight up. So I'm going to keep going, guys. But off the break, let's get this. I want people to put in the comment section what you think about that. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Do you think she had it coming? And if you don't think she had it coming, do you at least think, what'd you expect? What you thought he was going to do? Oh, you said I did that? Oh, I'm sorry I said those things. I never should have said those things I said that time when I said those things. I don't know why I said those things when I said those things. That was mean of me to say those things when I said those things. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Did you really think that was what was going to happen? Why are you wasting your time not getting right to the paper? I don't know. Let's keep going, guys. I'm sorry. I had to get that off my chest and get it started. But remember, this is not a corporate environment. I left corporate America a long time ago. Let's go.
With Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. Done so much, and you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir.
Yeah, you know, it may have been best for Trump to just get up and walk out. But then that would have been throwing a hissy fit. If you make somebody wait, imagine if they made Kamala Harris wait 30 minutes. Hold on a second. See, here's the thing. You want to treat him worse than you would treat Kamala, but you don't want him to react different. You don't want to react to it. If you would have made Kamala wait 10 minutes, you would have started off by saying, first of all, President Donald Trump, we're so sorry we made you wait. It could not be fixed, or it was totally out of our control. We want to apologize for the inconvenience, and we want to thank you for bearing with us. I do that on my YouTube show. Like with just anybody, any person that for whatever reason the software don't work, and I got them work late. It's working late, and we do the show a little bit later, whatever. I mean, I've done that with Killer Mike. I've had to do that with Senator Nina Turner. I've had to do that with Dr. Cornel West. I did it with numerous people. I think Michael Moore when he came on. All these people that have come on who were not president of the United States. I've had to do that, and I've done that gladly because it's a sign of respect. She doesn't do that, and I bet you, I got a feeling, because I haven't watched content to see what others are saying. I got a feeling no one made a point of it. But they know damn well if they made Kamala Harris sit for 5 minutes, they would be apologizing till the cows came home because they respect her. Because she's not the evil Trump. And if you treat somebody worse than you treat others, how can you complain when they treat you worse back? All right, let's keep going, guys. I feel like I'm in a crazy world. Hell, I've treated people that I've had on shows that I didn't even particularly care for. Like, it was sort of a combative situation. I still gave them their proper.
And then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is...
I think somebody should look into that, too, when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire? As
I respect her going and ask the question twice. I respect his answer in a way because we're still in hostility mode, and I wish he would answer the question straight up. Let's see if he does now. But I respect her. I got no problems with her restating the question. Okay? It does feel like she's campaigning for Kamala Harris, though, but okay. What do you expect? Let's go.
I really don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length, and we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Hey, well, he said, I don't know. She could be. I don't know. Harris over there, she's really good. So she didn't say that. He did not say that Kamala Harris is a DEI hire. I got a feeling that's not the way what led when they asked that question or how the media covered that question. I don't think they covered it. He did not agree. They're going to say he didn't deny she wasn't. Yeah. He did not agree she was not. They're going to go the negative route with that. All right, Harris.
You told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this.
Why doesn't anybody counter here by saying, no, it's not true? They just get offended by it. Why aren't they saying, no, it's not true? That's not the case. I'm just wondering why come the response to his assertion won't be met by people saying, no, it's not true, and then giving a list of facts about how immigration does not hurt black Americans. That's because they can't find that data, because they have no proof it doesn't hurt, because it's actually in the opposite. And that's just because there's only so many jobs. And there are sectors where immigration has impacted certain sectors of jobs, certain industries. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. For meat processing plants to whatever, okay? Trump, you stated it. Okay, fine. No one's going to give him credit. These people in this room, they don't give a shit about it because they have jobs that pay more and they're in media. And they're not worried about, they're not working at Tyson's. They're not working at whatever manufacturing job or whatever job on bridges or wherever else, which, by the way, are not sharecropping jobs, by the way. There are other jobs. We saw some businesses getting ready because they were hiring illegal workers or undocumented workers. That was happening. It's true. You got to blame the corporations for hiring people that are not documented, right? That's who the ultimate culprit is. But my thing is, if you're going to push back on Trump's talking point here, and it is a talking point, at least somebody can say he's wrong instead of getting offended for people when there are people who feel this way. There are legitimate human beings who feel that the competition for the jobs have greatly increased and the wages have gone down. Just because it's not you doesn't mean they don't exist. All right, let's keep going.
She's never even essentially been, she said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers.
Okay, these are just Trump's talking points from 2020. They worked really well in 2020. I don't know if they're going to work as well in 2024, but that's what it sounds like. Recycled talking points. Trump, I expect you to be a little bit more creative on the stump, sir.
Gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you
Our crime rate is actually going down, Johnson.
address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically.
Yeah.
How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of...
I wish Trump would have stayed on the topic about the financial issues, the economic issues. That's a winner for Trump. He should have stayed there. I think he had a lot of people that were riding with him just then, and then he pivoted to take a hit at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I don't think it was necessary. I like the story. Save it for another time. I'm sure you'll get a chance to throw that in there. Yeah, that would have probably been better that way. He was doing well. I could feel millennials and Gen Zers going, yeah, talk about the price. We can't afford homes. Yeah, keep talking. I like this. They would overlook everything if he would have stayed there. But Trump can't help himself. He can't help himself. He's got to go take shots. He's got to take shots. He's got to take the opportunity to zing them, and it's not serving him well. He was doing well. In fact, that's the type of stuff people want to hear about. Contrary to what that opening Miss Rachel Scott said when she asked these personal questions about run-ins with certain people. No, people want to hear about the economics. This election will be decided by economic reasons. And mostly, guys, nothing for nothing, most elections are. All the rest is just smoke. People finally decide based on their wallets and who they trust to help them put more money in their wallet. All right, let's go.
As you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years.
Price gouging, sir. Price gouging. Price gouging. And then talk about that. And the journalist, he's in a room with 4 journalists, 3 journalists. Why aren't they pinning him down on that? Let's talk economics. Let's double back and talk about the inflation. Let's make him go a step deeper. Someone said, Tim Black, he doesn't know anything about he doesn't know. Stop. Oh, man, I was about to quote you. Then you start with the talking points from the Democrats. Oh, come on, man. All right, I'm going to keep it moving in. See, you had a good point. Then you start talking about the Democrats' talking points. Then you lose me, Johnson. Then you lose me. Okay, Trump, go ahead.
Years, and they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
They're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine an innocent mistake?
You go after somebody, and it's a very close call, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how Trump would go about making immunity. There's already qualified immunity that police have. I've been fighting against qualified immunity. We want to end qualified immunity, which is why so many cops don't get prosecuted for what they do. Fact of the matter is, you're more likely to get struck by lightning if you're a cop than to be charged with a crime of killing a citizen, okay? So it gets overblown, the number of cops are actually charged. So this is like a whack way to get votes for Republicans, because it's not, we only know of a handful of cases where cops actually go to jail for what they do. And if it wasn't for the advent of body cams and them being instituted in a lot of these cases, we wouldn't have that. If it wasn't for smartphone footage, we wouldn't have had George Floyd's case, for instance, because they put that down as George Floyd having a medical incident. So this is what happens. But I'm not sure. I would like to know. I do not understand how Trump would be able to give immunity on a federal level to cops. I don't understand that at all. Qualified immunity is a constitutional issue. It's been on the books since 1800s. That's how far it dates back. Okay, let's keep going.
Dangerous, and you know, they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent, and he can't stand trial. And yet, he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to different topics.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where
sir,
I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you. You're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
Okay, he didn't need that one. That was gratuitous. That was gratuitous. Like, he went back at the well on that. He had already established he wasn't going to play no games. They're going to keep taking shots at him because they need the bragging rights or whatever. It is what it is, but you can't keep going back with the negative stuff. So that doesn't look good. That doesn't help him. He's already taking a stand. He's already pushed back hard enough. I don't think this does him any favors at all. Just let it go. Okay. In fact, you don't have to answer questions. You can speak and talk about different topics when they just be quiet. Let them ask you something, and then just switch. Do a Donna Brazile. Democrats do that all the time. You ask them a question, and they start running around the field. They start running around and going down hills and talking about all types of stuff. And they thought Biden was great when he did that. They thought he was this good old guy. So that's what you should do instead of being so combative.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator JD Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate, and do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family-oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your campaign
I think
position?
I'm speaking for him, too. He strongly believes in family. But I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him, actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family-oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point, and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator JD Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no.
What the hell? Did he actually say that? People should have more than one vote? Talk about pandering to your base. Come on, man. Come on, Rachel. This lady, Rachel Scott, come on, man. The guy was obviously pandering to a crowd wherever he was, wherever he said this. You know that. Why are you wasting time on that? Well, how does this help black people? I thought the Black Association of Journalists is supposed to be helping black people. You're just helping the Democratic Party, it sounds like. Who gives a shit what his vice president said 4 years ago in some town hall or something? Who gives a shit? How is that helpful? Who does that help? Why are you asking? This is the third time she asked questions no one gives a damn about, that don't serve anybody except the Democratic Party for talking points. This is lousy, guys. It's lousy. It's lousy. Look, I know it's going to be people that say, oh, you're helping Trump. No, man, I'm trying to help black people. How you just think going after Trump helps black people? It doesn't. You're supposed to be pinning this guy down on policy and then exposing that his policy sucks and pushing the issue on things that help us. How does talking about JD Vance, what he said with his sons, obviously, it's fucking nuts. He said a person should have more votes if they got more kids. Come on. Like, what good? Why are you wasting time? You just said you're pressed for time. You can't be that pressed for time if you're focusing on this. And I got a feeling all the NBC commentators, all the CNN commentators, all the lefty, center, whatever, liberal commentators on the internet, I got a feeling none of them say what I just said. Not even people that's supposed to be cutting against the grain like Stephen A. Smith now. I got a feeling Stephen A. Smith fell right in line. Let's keep going, man. This is pathetic, though. It really is.
But it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long.
Well, see, the thing is that the theory is that what they want to do is give them a pathway for citizenship and then hurry up and get them as voting as soon as possible, which will then, negate black votes. I know you don't care about it. I know the Democratic talking point is that's not a thing and we don't care about it, right? But you do understand that will limit our voting power, right? You get that part, right? You do understand that the only reason why black people are relevant in the electoral process is because we have some numbers in voting. Now, if that gets offset by new people to come to the country, that is a cause of concern. I get it that you don't care, and I get it that the Democrats don't want it to be a thing because they don't want it to be a thing. But you're supposed to be a journalist, not be at least understand the issue. If that is the issue, whether you agree with it or not, that's the issue. But JD Vance is wacko.
Long time that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about JD Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose JD Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing, too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard to hear.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room, but you have many of those people that were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the law journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually, did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family.
So basically, JD Vance is the equivalent of any other black politician that talks about he's fighting for black people. When black politicians say they're fighting for black people who haven't been treated well by the system, JD Vance resonates with Midwestern white people who feel that they've been wronged by the system in other ways, mostly financial and through wars, because he's a vet. So he said, he talks a lot about poor white kids being shipped off to Afghanistan. I know there are a lot of people that don't care about that. There are a lot of people that group all white people together, but there is a divide within white America, just as there are divides in the black community between class and status. So he spoke to those issues, and that resonated with those people, and that's how he gained popularity. I know people may dismiss it, they don't care, but if you ask the question, you get an opportunity to respond to it. I heard Tim Scott. And matter of fact, just to say, just to add this, Jamie Harrison, who ran against Lindsey Graham, that was his story about how he grew up with a single mom and how he was struggling and he was able to, go to school and turn his life and build something. And that's like the struggle that everyone talks about, but no one cares because JD Vance is a white guy saying it. But those white people hear it and it matters to them. So that's what it's about. That's really what Trump is saying. And you may not like it, but it resonates with half of the country. And no one complains when it's said by Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison instead, when Jamie Harrison says it, he becomes the chair of the DNC, even though he lost the most money in any election against Lindsey Graham. No one complains. That was his campaign. He had a single mom and he came from a poor background. All right, let's go.
But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. And so, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that.
And Maddie said his mom was also on drugs. I think he had abusive dad, too. It's a lot of stuff in there. Like I said, I know people don't care. I see people in the comments, they don't care. But some of you do care. Some of you resonate with that. That is just what he's been selling. She said, why'd you choose a guy? Because he said he came from a rough background. He went to Yale and he has a business. The guy kind of set shit on fire. I do not know this guy politics. I was not paying attention to JD Vance. I've had to start looking into JD Vance because he became a vice presidential pick. But that story resonates with people. It's a fucking movie and a book, guys. It's a movie and a book. You can't just dismiss it and go, oh, he's just pandering for votes. What? That's the story of every black movie in the 90s. Every black movie in the 90s was that story. And because it's a white guy saying it, you're just shitting on it. We ain't gonna never work together as a country, man, because we're too divided on, and we're going through the same shit. Don't you see? It's happening to other people too. But we can never get it together and just see that we all got the same problems and it's originating from the same people. If we could ever just look at the bad guy, see who the bad guy is, and stop looking at each other, Then we got a shot, but until then, we don't got a shot. All right.
That day you left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me to
I mean, it's
understand
just,
you,
I can understand you perfectly.
because she's
Whoa.
closer.
I can understand you.
I'm happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand.
Are you
So,
asking a question?
Okay, Trump God, man. It's bootleg, man. It's a black national black Trump. That's bad, man. Now let's get a little personal now, Trump. Okay, we get it. It's not as cool as when you went on the Daily Caller or something. We get it. Let's keep going.
What you're saying.
so what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at JD Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what JD Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death.
But I think it's
they're
about
allowing
freedom,
the death of a baby.
Wrong. That's not true, Johnson. Oh, God. Crash and burn time, Johnson. It's not good. It's not good.
After the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the governor of Virginia. Based on the governor of Virginia, they're allowing the death of the baby after it's born. They're allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well, Democrats have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody.
But the majority of Americans oppose Roe v. Wade being overturned.
They don't know about this. Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing, out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And Many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Aren't they talking about stillbirths when he talks about that? Isn't that stillbirth? What is Trump talking about? Man, who said that's just straight murder? Who said 9 months? 8 months? What's going on, Johnson? Trump, what are you doing, man? All right.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you consider?
Most people. I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would make,
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question.
Trump won't let stuff go, man. Trump will not let stuff go. That guy is like on it, man. Wow. That's what you talk about dedication to being pissed off. I mean, Jesus Christ, I would have let it go by this point. I'd be so busy focusing on the next thing. Goodness gracious. All right.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, sir, actually.
You said you would. You would.
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you.
Yeah.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most
You already said all this stuff, Trump. Come on now.
embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country. She has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
And
do
make
it.
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but
Damn, man, that was cold-blooded, boy. I hate to interrupt you, but would you consider taking a cognitive test? Woo! Wow. Jesus, man. These people, man.
I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
Are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
To be clear, you don't think Harris would
how do
pass?
you intend,
She didn't pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it, and I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a man over here, I think he must work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to
those rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis? How come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle? How come nothing happened to them? How come the people that...
But sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well, they
you would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle.
Should have mentioned Sonia Massey at that point. Sonia Massey got shot in the face as well. And he didn't say definitely that the cops should not be would not have immunity. Should have. Wish somebody would have brought that back, but okay.
Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know, people died in Minneapolis, and nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance, and I'll tell you what. What about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., they were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying, they were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that, and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border, and I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up, and then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car. Okay, I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs. And I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Project
Mr. President,
2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So we'll leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank
honor.
you, Mr. President.
Okay, that was it, Johnson. Wow. That's something else, man. That was I really wonder what you guys think. I think overall it was a testy 36, 37 minutes, shy of 40 minutes conversation with the National Black Journalists Association. But I gotta say, man, it started off rocky, but I don't even blame Trump for that. I think the natural thing to do was to kind of start it off congenial. Like started off not in a way that's so combative. And that was her, not him. The initial question. That was a rough question, that first question. It started with a bunch of statements and declarations of how she felt about him or about him, and then she asked a question. So I don't think that was cool. But I also don't think Trump needed to stay there that whole time. I mean, it was a bad moment. He seemed like he was covered towards the middle, but then he went back to it. I don't get it. I still think it was worth doing. I still think it's good that he did it. People are saying he should not have done it. It was a horrible look. I don't think so. I think on balance, if you like Trump, you still like him. If you don't like him, you don't like him. That's it. I think there was some missed opportunities, frankly. I think the black journalists missed the opportunity to ask questions that we want him to answer. We don't really want him to answer more questions about January 6th. We really don't care about JD Vance said in the town hall 3 years ago when he was running for Senate. No one cares about that. You understand what I'm saying? And all the pandering to Kamala Harris, that sucks too. Speaking of Kamala Harris, she went and she made a response to Donald Trump during one of her rallies today. Here she is.
National Association of Black Journalists. Meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us.
I hate those types of statements, Johnson. All that, our diversity is our strength. All that type of stuff is just hollowness. You know what our strength is? Money, economics, the ability to live indoors, the opportunity to live indoors. People being able to pay their rent, people being able to afford childcare, people being able to afford getting old, not going bankrupt if you get sick. These are the things that make us stronger. I never met a person who was Latino, Asian, Native American, white, or black that said, being this color makes me stronger. All of us being different colors makes us stronger. Nah, what makes us stronger is equity, business ownership, profits and dividends, the ability to secure a well-paying job so you can support your family. That's what makes us stronger, Johnson. This type of talk from Kamala is why she's going to lose. It's not going to be because she's a woman. It's going to be because she's her. Because she thinks that, and her team thinks that's a winning narrative. It's not a winning narrative, man. People are getting beyond this. Of course, we got some young people who are drinking the Kool-Aid just like we were when we first heard of Obama. When I was in my 30s and I heard Obama, and I was like, man, this guy, he gonna end racism. We gonna end racism, baby. We gonna let us see racism go away. We were just as dumb. Yes, I can. Yes, we can. All right now. Come on now. Yes, we can. We were all hyped on that. And then we get a little bit older. Now we're all knocking on 50. And we're like, hey, you know what? Bump that. Show us the money. Yeah, show us the money, Johnson. So that's where we at. But to some people that said, you know, I've been seeing some people that commented and talking like, hey, Trump was so rude to these black journalists. He was so rude to these black women. He was so rude. I wanted to share with you a couple clips because I disagree. I don't disagree that he wasn't rude at times. I disagree that he is notoriously rude to black journalists. He's also rude to white guys.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to challenge you on one of the statements that you made in the tail end of the campaign in the midterms. That
here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep...
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process. And I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign...
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
Right. But your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true. But they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. Right. These were people. This was an actual, you know, it happened a few days ago. And
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may give us a question? Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
can you state categorically,
she's asking a question. Don't
Mr.
be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
All right, so I just wanted to point out that Trump is kind of that way with everybody. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it is what it is. He gets punchy with the press. And I know that these are black women, and I know that they are the press, and he treated them like the press. I know that you would treat them differently, I guess, and apparently people think that Trump's going to change. He ain't going to change. He's damn near 80 years old. He's going to keep doing it the way he's been doing it. Did it work for him? I don't know. A little. There were times that I thought it was kind of warranted, but not the whole time I didn't think it was. You know, and it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. But I just want to point out, there are people cherry picking it as if he only do that to black women. See that time he said something to April Ryan. They forget he had a running feud with that's the same guy. Acosta, he went at it with Acosta for a couple years. They like took Acosta's credentials and kicked him off the White House like correspondence thing or whatever. It was bad, man. So I'm just saying, and there was another clip where he went testing with a white journalist from ABC. I just had time to grab that one. So, yeah. I just don't like where it's like pitted, like he only does this to black women. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's kind of non-discriminatory in being rude. When he feels like people are being rude to him, he gets rude. And sometimes it's like if you ask questions he doesn't like, he gets testy. So there it is. That's my take on it, but guys, you let me know what you think about it. It is what it is. I'd like to know if you think Trump, I don't know. I don't know. I still think it was good he did it. Because if you don't show up, then it looks like you're scared, right? Then it looks like, oh, he's punking out. Of course, if he shows up and it doesn't go great, there are going to be people saying, see, he hates black people. If he doesn't show up, then they're going to say he doesn't respect black people, i.e., he hates black people. So this was a lose-lose competition or lose-lose proposition, because now that Kamala's running and she's a black woman, now it's going to be black versus white throughout the whole election. That's why, guys, I believe we need to have an election next week. Yeah, let's go ahead and buck the trends. Let's all sign a petition to make the election happen next week. Let's get this thing over with. I don't think America can survive another 97 days of this. We got 97 more days of this. And every day it's going to be racist, 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 black versus white, black versus white. He hates women. He hates blacks. He hates women. He hates. That's what's going to be the whole time. And as long as we're talking about that, guess what we're not talking about? Ka-ching. We're not talking about the money. We're not talking about people living indoors. We're not talking about people being able to retire. We're not talking about people being able to afford their light bill, their phone bill, food. That's what we're not talking about. And that's a damn shame. My name is Tim Black. We do this every day at 9:30, sometimes 10. It's been 10 lately, but I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. What we got in the comment section, Johnson? We got AW21st that gave us gifts. AWS21st gave gifts in the form of Black TV memberships. Thank you for supporting the channel. Jesus Christ, man. I almost forgot I could get super chats. Thank you, my friend. Check this out. Presidential Mike. Thank you, Mike. Mike says, they went up there with their egos and not a business mindset. They put their party ahead of their blackness. We could have at least got a hate crime bill. That would have been a good question to ask. I think the one question about Sonya Massey was pretty good. It was pretty good. And she tried to follow up, too. That was a good one. Her name is Kadia Goba. But Rachel Scott, I didn't think Rachel Scott did such a great job. Harris Faulkner started off pretty well, but, you know, she has a previous relationship with Trump. So it's kind of hard for her not to do well with him. He felt comfortable with her. But, yeah, Kadia Goba is the young lady that asked a great question. But Rachel Scott, too combative, you know, and I what can I say? I think it was an opportunity to make a real splash. And I think they may have some history. I could be wrong, but I feel like they have some history. All right, I'm Tim Black, guys. Tim at TimBlackTV.com. Let me know what you think about the content. We're going to be putting this one out. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, don't let nobody take your cornbread. I'm not here to convince you of anything. We just have a conversation. I give you the information that I have, and then I give my opinion. But you got to make up your own mind, Johnson. This ain't propaganda. It's the Tim Black Show. I love y'all. I'll see y'all on the next one. Thank y'all. Not talking about the real deal that would make a difference. Cornell West. Nelson Ortega in the house. Retta Johnson says, my Tim Black, great show. Thank you, Retta. Buck Bewley, my brother. Thanks, Buck, for staying up to do this, man. Good night, Buck. Buck's my moderator. Give it up for Buck. And Sub Kitty and Christopher Walker, good night. Thank you both. Katrina Watson, it's good to see you as always. Hypnotic Hollywood, thank you. NK True, good to see you. And mention to Maddie. Thank you, Maddie, for what you do. In Africa, where's Africa? Valley the Content Boutique. Thanks, Tim. This was a fun one. Have a good night, dear Wolfpack. Thank you. Yeah, Christopher Walker should have asked about reparations. They weren't even thinking about it. Too busy thinking about January 6th. And what black Americans thinking about January 6th? You mean that thing that happened 4 years ago? Jesus Christ. Maddie to you. Thank you, Maddie to you. That's crazy. Man. Katrina says, you must have been younger because Trump was sending checks like it was reparations. Man, y'all crazy, man. Jesus Christ, y'all crazy. Wow. Go to jointimberlake.com, become a member of this show, y'all. The Tim Black Wolfpack. We started back in 2014. Folks on the online community wanted to come together to fight back against the garbage that goes on in D.C. We couldn't stand the politics, so we wanted to do something about it. Didn't know what, but we knew we needed to do something. It hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. It's time to ride again. Join us. Wolfpack.